Welcome in today to A Glitch in the Matrix. I'm your host, Jessica Jones, aka the Cryptid Huntress. I hope you guys all had a fantastic Christmas. If you celebrate Christmas, I hope you all had a wonderful holiday. I know I did. We were very busy, okay, and I feel it just went by in a flash, okay, and here we are today. A couple days after Christmas, and I am so excited that you guys are here with us today because I have a fantastic show. Once again, I have our friend, Mark Machek, here in the studio today, and we're going to be talking about something that's extremely fascinating. It kind of ties into some of the other shows that we've done as far as portals opening, cryptids being conjured, and excuse me, and things like that, okay? So if you guys would like to follow along with all of my shows and everything that's going on in the Cryptid Huntress world, go to my website. That's the cryptidhuntress.com. You can find all of my shows. A little box even pops up asking if you'd like to ask me any questions. Okay. And yes, I do get back to people eventually. I do, y'all. I've been so busy. I'm going to try to catch up with all those messages you guys have been sending me, maybe today or tomorrow. Okay. I'm working on it. Okay. But I also have a Patreon. That's the Cryptid Huntress over on Patreon if you guys would like to support my work. And also I have a shop that's called War Woman Goods over on Etsy. It's about to be moved over to my website, thecryptidhuntress.com. Okay. Well, let's see. I guess let's go ahead and get started with the show today because I have a lot to talk about with my co-host today, Mark Machek. So some people go to extremes to have encounters with dogmen, Bigfoot, and other cryptids. But at what cost? Cryptid research can consist of going into the woods and simply observing the environment or actively conjuring entities by doing rituals and using devices such as electronics and musical instruments and other devices, I guess. In a recent viral video, a man seemingly attracts several cryptids by a series of throat-singing vocalizations. Okay, and I know you guys have probably seen this throat-singing fella. We're going to be talking about that today. But I have Mark Machek here, and he is AKA, also known as Cryptidville, over on YouTube. You guys know him from the chats as well. After a series of odd paranormal events, Mark Machek became interested in the paranormal, cryptids, and UFOs. Because of the things he experienced, he embarked on a journey to understand the mysteries of the world. He has spent a lot of time up at the LBL, the Land Between the Lakes area in Kentucky, and has a lot of experience, you guys. He has been on the show as a co-host with me a couple of times, and also he was my guest for the 5 Nights of Dogman special that I did with Vic Cundiff with Dogman Encounters. So please help me welcome to the show my friend, Mark, aka Cryptidville. Hey, Mark.
Hi, Jessica. How are you today?
I'm doing excellent. I hope that you had a wonderful Christmas.
I did, and the same to you as well. And I'm happy to be here today.
Wonderful. I'm excited you're here too. And oh my gosh, Gray Tombstone Salmon. That's a great name. Thank you for that super sticker. I appreciate that. Oh yeah. I'm excited to have you here. I've been wanting to get you back on the show as my co-host. You are an excellent co-host, Mark, and I always have a really good time when you're here.
Thank you. I appreciate the compliment.
Yeah, well, I always learn something when you're here. I always learn something. And I figured that, today I was thinking about doing a show all by myself today, because I knew that all my friends, a lot of people are going to be on vacation and stuff, and I happened to snag you for this show today. So thank you. Um,
You're
I
welcome.
wanted to talk a little bit about cryptids and how people, I want to say, summon and conjure cryptids sometimes, because um, that's a topic, okay, that my team deals with out in the field when we're doing our Bigfoot field research. And I've been seeing a lot of people going out into the field and using different methods, different forms of having an experience, to have an experience with, let's just say, Bigfoot or Dogman. Okay. And I look at these people, I'm like, man, that's dangerous. Okay. Super dangerous. And I'm sure you're familiar with that too.
Oh yeah, very, very familiar. I've seen a lot of interesting things out in the field um, that are attempts by people to try to have an interaction with these things.
Hmm. Oh yeah. We've done some things with my team, and the goal is to go have an experience with a Bigfoot when we're out there doing our research. Now, I'm not the type of person to provoke, okay? And I watch shows like Ghost Adventures. That's one of my favorite examples, where Zach goes out and he's, demanding that the ghosts show themselves, and demanding that demons, show themselves or make their presence known. And I don't do that, okay? Because I know that that is not safe, and I don't want things attaching to me, okay? So, or follow me home. I've had a case of what we call hitchhikers, that came home with me. I have them on video. They're little orbs floating around my child. Okay, from when I came home from the field one day. Um, it's, you never know what you're going to pick up out there, and so I think that it's, when you actually go out there and try to conjure something, it's a little more dangerous because you've got their attention, and they may follow you home. Am I right?
True, very true. Um, and I think that a lot of people that attempt that don't understand that what they're doing is they're in effect attempting to bend uh, the laws of I referred to it last night as the laws of consent, and basically they're giving consent to these things to interact with themselves, and they may or may not even realize that they're doing so in some of the things that they're doing. So that's and I just wanted to touch on that because in this whole concept about the topic that we're discussing today, consent is a big part in uh, why these things interact with some people. Um,
Okay.
so just kind of wanted to touch on that a little bit, and
Okay.
if need be, we'll touch on that a little more.
Okay, what exactly do you mean by consent? Like the consent, like our consent, like we open ourselves up to it, and so we consent to have them attached to us, or like what exactly do you mean by that?
So, for example, let's say you go into the forest, and your goal is to have an interaction with one of these uh, cryptids and humanoids, whatever you choose to call them,
Hmm.
um, entities. When you go out there, if you take it above the level of just going out there and looking, for observational purposes, let's say you go out there and you utilize any kind of calling device, whether that be a even down to the level of a coyote call or anything like that, um, doing vocalizations with your mouth, using a bullhorn, um, you know, any kind of method that you employ to facilitate a interaction, you are in essence giving them consent to interact with you. And most of us, and I'll admit, in my early days of research, I partook of this practice unknowingly, knowing what I know now, that I was actually giving consent to these entities to interact with me. And what people experience is, yes, they may have an interaction in the field, but what happens when they leave the field? These things oftentimes follow people home and uh, interact with us in our more personal spaces in our home environment, and we may or may not want that.
Hmm. Oh yeah, that happened to me. Totally. And but I grew up seeing ghosts and having encounters with things, potentially even like ETs and stuff like that. So it wasn't extremely threatening to me. Okay, when that happened to me, and I was able to like get rid of them. Basically, like I'd like to think I did, you know. Um, but for some people, especially people who are kind of new to Bigfooting and to getting out in the woods, and they want to have an experience right off the bat. Okay, I don't think a lot of people understand how dangerous that could be. To go out there and to try some of these methods like blowing horns and I mean we even take didgeridoos out in the woods sometimes. Okay, just for fun. Um, but I tell you one thing: when those didgeridoos start blowing out there, there's a frequency to it. You can feel it. It's like palpable, and it does attract things, beings out there, Bigfoots. They a lot of things. Not only the cryptids, but all the forest animals get really interested in whatever we're doing at that point. It gets their attention.
Definitely. I think that in some cases it may be a scenario where the individual is either opening up a portal or something of that nature, or on some level is like um, tapping into the spirit realm to facilitate interactions with these things, because some of them, I'm not going to say all of them, and this is, once again, this is for entertainment purposes only, and it's my opinion.
Right.
uh so and it's my opinion that some of these things are here all the time, and some of them are possibly interdimensional. And when we communicate or attempt to communicate with them, if especially if we're opening up portals, then that provides them not just a way to communicate with us, but a way to pass through into our dimension. So, yeah, it just I think that a lot of people, or some people that are interested in this topic, don't consider those things when they're going out. They just think, "Oh, I'm going to go see Bigfoot, or I'm going to go see Dogman, or whatever." They don't take into consideration what the consequences are of, you know, because at the end of the day, for example, if they're opening up a portal out in the woods and they're opening it using some kind of uh, throat singing, some kind of didgeridoo, some kind of musical instrument, or what have you, at the end of the day, when after the experience is over, what happens to that portal? It's still there, and it's still an active gateway for things to come and go to and
Well,
from,
yeah.
if it's not somehow closed. So I think that those are things that people uh, that employ these methods don't take into consideration.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a great point. It's like you open up a portal to another dimension, another world. Anything, it's kind of like free roaming, fair game right there. You can go, something can come in and out. I mean, Lord forbid you open a portal in your house. Okay, now I got to say, I'm kind of interested in this one story about a gentleman who had opened a portal in his home. Apparently, now there's pictures and a video online, and I have a still shot from that. I'll show the audience. This guy opened up what appeared to be a portal using some kind of frequency device. It was like a sound frequency, and it looked as though there was a circle that opened up above his bed, And from what I can recall, he was saying this was Sedona, California, or Sedona, not California. Where's Sedona? I forgot. But anyways, wherever Sedona is, okay. And you could see the town, okay, like in that circle, and you could kind of see Sedona is Arizona. Thank you, Gerald. And but you could see this portal. Now, what this reminds me of, Mark, is I had done a show with Dennis Carroll. We had talked about the magic mirrors, okay, and it looked like in some of the old world art and pictures that people had these mirrors. We're calling them magic mirrors, and it looked as though they weren't actually looking at their reflection in these round mirrors. They were looking through a portal, like into another realm or another area. Like they were looking into a place just like that circle, the portal that man opened above his bed. Okay. So I mean, could there be stargates and portals that are able to be opened by sound frequencies like this guy was showing us in this video, you think?
Well, I would have to say in my experience, and this is not opinion.
Hmm.
It is experience. Um, firsthand experience. I have seen it actually done.
Okay. Wow. Well, I've experienced portals too. In my team, we've actually documented a portal. So I know it's real too. But I have just never seen a city or a town through the other side of a portal before, personally. But I've seen it in movies. They show us on television shows, and there's a show called I think it's called Stargate or something.
Hmm.
We talked about it. I've actually remote viewed some Stargates and jump gates is what they call them and stuff. So I know they exist. I know they do. Now there's a gentleman who there's like a viral TikTok video that's going around of a guy who was doing throat singing. I think it's called Mongolian throat singing, if I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken. And it's this fella. Okay, I just took some screenshots. Okay, um, but he was filming himself doing a throat singing session, and a deer, like deers, were coming up and walking up and staring at him. But something that was even more interesting was not just this deer was got his attention, or he got its attention. There were other beings, like it looked like pale crawlers or some kind of weird cryptids were also lurking around in the background behind the deer. Okay. And I can't say what those things were, but they look like cryptids of some sort. And I'm pretty sure you're probably familiar with this, right, Mark?
Oh yeah, I've seen the video, and it's uh it's very interesting the entities that are moving through the woods behind the deer. It's like they're they're trying to check it out, but they're trying to stay hidden at the same time, and it's just kind of got a creepy little feel to it, and it's just kind of interesting. And I'm pretty sure that the deer were coming up because they were not well, unless we're unless he's in Australia, deer are not accustomed to hearing those types of vocalizations, so naturally they're going to be curious.
Yeah. Yeah. So would you, I mean, okay, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it could be that he was familiar with that area and he went there because maybe he's done that before. Okay. Maybe
Could
he
be.
knew he would get some action there, or maybe that's a spot where he knows there's an active portal or something. I mean, they do say, and I've done shows on this, and actually been given blind remote viewing targets of Earth's natural portals and Earth's natural weaponized portals too. Okay, and some of them are at the same location. Okay, and so potentially maybe he knew it was there and just knew the right tones to do to get those portals to open, or just to get the attention of those cryptids.
It's a good possibility.
Mhm.
It's either that or he knew that he could open up a portal using that throat singing to um, and then on top of that, the other thing that you have to keep in mind is if he didn't already know that there was a portal there and he just went there and opened one, there's no guarantee that there's something is going to come through. It's just going to be there, but you can't guarantee that something from the other side is going to enter our realm. Now, it would have been different if he had entered and went into a different realm, but like you said, I think that it's possible that he had been experimenting with that before and knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, I I agree 100% with that. And we go to some of the same places to do our research with the Bigfoot up in the mountains, and because we know that we're going to get activity there, and we know that there's potential portals there. And so that's part of the reason that we go to the same places over and over again. And some of those places that we go to that have the most activity are places that have had a lot of bloodshed. Okay, wars and battles fought there, Mark, like the Civil War. Okay, Indian land disputes back in the day and stuff, but a lot of bloodshed. And there's one place I think I talked about. I still have this picture on my StreamYard from last Thursday when I had Barry on. We were talking about the Appalachia's most scary, like scariest cases with cryptids, right?
Mhm.
And one of the cases was up here in Georgia, Northwest Georgia, and it's Corpsewood Manor. Okay, and that house was built by two gentlemen, and it's broken down and it got burned to the ground a while back after they were both murdered there on that property. But they did satanic rituals there, and to this day, there's a lot of satanic rituals going on there on that property. I have actually done research there with my team because of the Dogman werewolf sightings, Bigfoot sightings, a lot of reports up there of cryptids, and not the nice kind of cryptids either. Okay, old green eyes is up there, which is an old like ancient entity, possibly a gugway. Okay, who was seen eating the dead corpses during the Civil War. Okay, as the soldiers fell down on the battlefield and were there. So conjured through the blood, maybe. I don't
Could
know.
be, could be. The um, you know, I don't want to get into a whole biblical rant about different things, but I think that there are certain things that are mentioned in the Bible that we are told not to do, and I think there's a reason for that. And granted, I understand that, and it doesn't really go into a lot of detail as to why we're told those specific things, and it doesn't do a very good job of explaining why. So, I think that probably the best way to sum it up would be, like when you look at the old laws in the Bible, it talks about your food preparation has got to be done a certain way. Certain animals are only to be considered for some food sources, and you're not to ingest internal organs or eat blood. And then when you look at the whole thing about when the Nephilim were on the earth at that time, um, you know, they were basically eating humans and drinking human blood. And I think that there's a reason for that is because, like you had mentioned in previous shows, that um, there is power in a person's blood, and I think that there's power in it to the level that we just don't understand, or that we have been exposed to at some point, but because we're also exposed to science and the narrative, we choose to not give it the um, I'm fishing for words at the moment, but we don't give it the place that it should have in
Mhm.
our understanding. Um, and that would
The
fall on why,
importance.
yeah, as far as why it's important not to do those things. But anyways, yes, I agree. I think there is an energetic power, more so in a person's blood, that um, I mean, if there weren't, then why do we have people out there that practice blood magic?
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
mean, and it's a real thing, and you get it in not just standard um, dark magic, but you see it in things like voodoo, Santeria, um, you know, all the um, magical practices from, like, even South America and the Mediterranean, not the Mediterranean, like Haiti and that area. Um, some of those practices do incorporate blood magic,
Mhm.
and I don't think that it's too far of a fetched idea to say that there is um, a power or power in a person's blood. Um, and I'm just I'm also thinking about how far off in the rabbit hole I want to go with that, because um, there are a lot of there are a lot of things that here in the last 2 or 3 months that I've been able to put together that are um, rather interesting, and concepts that you don't hear a lot of people talking about because of their lack of exposure to it.
Mhm.
And anyways, I'm gonna diverge from that and try to stay on topic.
Oh yeah, we got folks in the chat like, let's go deep in that rabbit hole. I know. Well, we always go deep in the rabbit hole here at the Cryptid Hunters channel. We always do. My rabbit hole is a portal. Okay, and it's interesting. And we have Dennis Carroll is here. Hey Dennis, he and I did the show on the magic mirrors together. And so if y'all hadn't seen that, y'all definitely check that one out. He says one of the most prevalent of black magic incantations is that of opening portals. And wow, yeah. Um, it's not the only way to summon cryptids and things like that. You could just um, it's not the only way, but yes, black magic. And you did mention voodoo. Okay, and a lot of times the rougarou and werewolves, especially when we hear about werewolves, those are usually, I don't know, don't want to say created, but like conjured basically by black magic rituals and stuff, right?
Well, actually, the um, the loop guru
Mhm.
is actually a curse that's placed upon a person, and I think that they carry the curse, according to what I can recall from that lore. They carry the curse for 100 days, and if during that 100 days um, they bite or someone draws their blood, that curse is somehow passed on to the person that does that to them. And so it kind of picks up and goes another 100 days on the person that it's transferred to. Now, whether that's actually correct as far as how the transference is done and all that good stuff, um, I don't know. But now, when you get into the whole Rougarou, from what I you know, and I don't speak of this lightly because I was raised in Louisiana, so I'm, you know, very familiar with the culture down there, the very diverse culture. Um, you know, Rougarou is just it's a Cajun term to talk about what we call Bigfoot. Um, and there's lot of interpolarity that takes place between the loup-garou, which is a werewolf, described as a werewolf, and the rougarou, which is basically a Bigfoot. And there's some interpolarity there because people get them confused
Mhm.
because they're kind of, you know, and depending upon where you're at in Louisiana, they may become interchangeable.
Mhm.
Where if a person says, "Oh, it was that loup-garou," they could be talking about a Bigfoot, but not really, you know, referring to a werewolf, and vice versa. They may call a rougarou a werewolf, and it just depends on, you know, what particular region you're in, and that's why there is that polarity or interpolarity that takes place.
Hmm. Wow, that's interesting that you've made the connection of like Bigfoot being also seen as like a werewolf kind of thing, because I hear that sometimes too, especially with different Native American cultures. Though sometimes they're grouped together as in Bigfoot, werewolves, and Dogman. They're all werewolves basically, or and so and because I've done shows where we're trying to distinguish the difference between a werewolf and a dog man. Okay, and like,
Mm.
oh, it's their legs, or one of them
Yeah,
changes and one of them doesn't. And I mean, and it really gives a lot of fuel for to do different shows and stuff. You know what I mean? Just nitpicking at all this stuff, but ultimately, some cultures believe that they're all the same being.
yeah, I've heard that before, where some people refer to them, you know, as being the same. But I think the biggest differentiating factor is, you know, when you start talking about werewolves and dogman.
Yeah.
Dogman is Dogman 365, 24/7, 365. And there's never any kind of shift that takes place. However, if you look at a werewolf, there is the possibility for that. And that shift is usually going to take place at the behest of the practice of some dark magic.
Mhm.
And um, that is, I think, probably the biggest, in my opinion, differentiating factor when you're looking at uh, those two subjects.
The differences. Yes. BMR, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Thank you so much for that super sticker. Hello. I hope you had a nice Christmas. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, and Robin has a good point. All cultures have had blood rituals throughout time. Okay. And I mean, we all hear about like the Aztecs sacrificing people for I mean, even for like a good harvest or something, you know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
To be fruitful the next year, they sacrifice the virgins and stuff, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't know exactly. Don't let me, don't quote me, y'all. Okay. Um, but we've all heard about those sacrifices and stuff to maintain their fruitfulness in their harvest and things like that. So, or even to make rain come down and water their crops or something. I mean, it's been a part of life since the beginning of time for the most part.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely, yeah, there's definitely an ancient historical aspect to that whole blood ritual thing, and you know, it's been through all of time. I don't think that there's been a time period on this planet there hasn't been, you know, some type of, you know, blood sacrifice that's taken place. I mean, we even have it today, whether we want to admit it or not, you
Yeah,
know.
that's right. Unfortunately, and we hear about that. That's why everybody's getting censored on the internet and stuff, because a lot of people have been talking about it more lately, and it's something that's been very underground now. It's something that people push down. They don't want to talk about it, and that's why I think it's important for us to talk about from a cryptid aspect of these beings being conjured. Let's just say conjured. That's what I titled the show today, is Conjuring Cryptids. And it's not like we're here to teach everybody how to conjure cryptids. We're here to discuss that they're being conjured. Okay. And that's, I mean, we could even tie in like the CE5 protocol, okay, where people are basically conjuring UFOs. I mean, are you familiar with that process? And because I know my team has done it out in the field, where we play a series of sound frequencies. Okay. And you can get these you can download an app, and there are sound frequencies. They're supposed to be like the sounds of like the stalks of grass or hay from where a UFO landed in a crop circle or something. I don't know. I don't even know what it is. I don't think it ever really worked very well when we did it, but some people swear by it. And it can call in UFOs and ETs. Now, I don't think that that's a good idea all the time, unless you just really know what you're doing. But when it comes to ETs, does anybody really know what they're doing? That's my question. No, I don't think so.
Well, I've heard of C5. I'm not real familiar with it, other than to know what the intention is behind the practice. And when it comes to ETs and or what some people we're going to call it like we're going to call we're going to call them ETs. We're not going to be like Eminem, will the real Slim Shady stand up? Because there's some people out there who think that ETs are demonic entities,
Mhm.
and so there's that whole concept that we have to navigate at times if we choose to, and uh, it's I don't think that we are in a place where we can fully say that we know what we're doing when we're interacting with these things because we don't know what they are. I mean, the idea of little green men from outer space is novel, sounds cool, but at the end of the day, if you don't know where these things are coming from, then and it goes back into the whole concept of these things actually being terrestrial from our planet, from the inner earth. Um, you know, until you're able to determine where these things are actually coming from, I don't think interacting with them is going to be a really wise choice.
Yeah. Well, okay, so that's interesting because when I first started doing the Bigfoot research, and I was out in the field, we had a lot of UFO activity the first weekend that I was out there. The first time I went out with that team, and had activity, and people who watch my shows know my story. Um, I believe that we got accosted by potentially some ETs, okay, and had a low flying UFO over us. Um, and the head of our team suggested that we start researching alien abductions. And I thought, man, I'm out here to do, Bigfoot field research, not get abducted by aliens. What the heck is going on here? It was pretty confusing for me. But as I started reading about it, I became aware of it, and I started having interactions with actual ETs. Okay, um, showing up in my home, as a matter of fact, and stuff. So I felt like I had manifested that. Okay, just from I don't know if I manifested it, or I was just able to see it, or I was on the frequency at that point. Um, some people say that
Or
they get marked. I guess you call it being marked by a cryptid. Okay, like when you go out in the field and you have an experience with a Bigfoot, you're marked. Okay, for like the rest of your life, you're gonna see that Bigfoot. Okay, or something. And I like to think that maybe it's just that we're on the frequency. We change to another vibration, another vibrational frequency. We're able to pick up that frequency. Like we've turned the station on the knob on the radio station, and now we're there on that same frequency with those cryptids. And so that's what I always felt like had happened to me, being out there in the field and having that ET experience. Okay. Now I haven't been seeing ETs lately, thank goodness. Doesn't mean they're not there. It just means that I'm not seeing them. Okay.
Well, I'm in agreement that being on a different frequency does allow you to experience different things that other people are not. I can agree with that. However, I think that in a lot of cases it's a combination of that and that law of consent that I mentioned earlier. Is it that you unknowingly consented to have interactions with these things, and or I mean, consent is given until you say, I'm taking my consent that I gave you back at some point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, go
So
away. You're not
yeah,
welcome here, especially
yeah,
not in my house, man. Like, I think, and that's the fine line that we kind of walk. We walk that tightrope when we're doing field research. We're actively out there observing, allowing for the experiences to happen. Where do we cut it off when we go home? Do you know what I mean? We have to, like when I'm remote viewing, I have to go through a process where I open myself up and then I actively shut it down. Okay, I shut the whole process down. It is a process. Okay, now do I do the same when I go out in the field and go do my Bigfoot research? Not always, but I probably should, because it is an energetic exchange there.
I can agree with that. That you should l- basically attempt to leave what's there before you come home, and do what you need to do to ensure that you're not having later interactions with these things. Because I mean, the reality of it is, you know, I don't care. I don't care how anybody in the field cuts the cake and how big or little of a slice they want to try to give me. I've been doing, cryptid related research, UFOs, ghosts. I've been doing that for a long time. You cannot tell me that the interactions always stay, nice, calm, peaceful. I'm just Harry from the Harry with the Hendersons, and I'm here to eat popcorn and watch movies. I, I've heard and seen too many things that tell me that that's not the case.
Yeah.
I mean, when you start talking about, um, facilitating interactions or summoning, something as simple as feeding these things.
Mhm.
You know, if you're going to feed them, what happens when you stop feeding them?
Yeah.
You know,
They're gonna get
and
mad.
and then what does your gifting exchange? What does that? We have in our head what it means to us. We're just trying to facilitate an interaction, but what does that mean to them?
Yeah. I know you got it. You need to get in the head of them cryptids out there, y'all. We really don't know, and I mean, and then reason the whole aspect of like, are are cryptids demonic and stuff? Like, I don't think cryptids are demonic personally. Not all of them. I think that they're able to be taken over by dark entities, just like humans are. That's my opinion because I really don't know. Just like
Well,
ETs. I don't know about if ETs or demons and stuff. I mean, these are we can talk in circles about this stuff all day because everybody has an opinion. I don't think any of us really know. You know what I mean?
well, I know that I'm the lesser known in the field for putting a lot of my research out there. Um, However, some of the things that we have in the field that we've come into knowledge of, and I'm not don't please don't take this, and please I ask the audience, do not take what I'm fixing to say the wrong way. I don't
Uh-oh.
mean this. I don't mean this in a negative or man, that dude's a real butthole or whatever.
Wah, wah, wah.
But some of the things in the last 5 years that you have come into the knowledge of, are things that you would not know if I hadn't done the research that I did. And um, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. As you can very plainly see, I'm not mentioning any of those things because uh, in this whole research thing, I am not looking for anything other than understanding the truth as far as my research goes. I'm not looking for fame. I'm not looking for money. I'm not looking for any of those things. I want that's why I got into this many years ago, is because I wanted to know the truth about the things that I was experiencing, not
Mhm.
because I wanted to be a podcaster and storyteller or big famous researcher and all that stuff. Which that if that's your gig, roll with it. I'm happy for you. Do it. Do you? But that's just not me. You know. So, anyways, um,
You're behind the scenes for sure in a lot of this, but man, you are a boots on the ground kind of guy too, and you're out in the field pretty often, but just doing your own research, right? And I mean, you got a crew of folks you go out there with. You got some good friends. You guys do a lot of camping, and you're even up there at the LBL a lot. And we talk about that very often here on my channel because there's so much activity up there. And it's like, man, what in the world is going on at the LBL to cause so much cryptid activity to be in that area? Mark, do you think there's some portals up there? And
well,
should
actually,
people be messing around with the portals up there?
well, to answer that multi-part question, I
That's a
don't think
lot of questions. Sorry.
I don't think that people should be messing around with it.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, my advice to people who have not had any kind of cryptid related experience, I would my suggestion would be to look really hard at that topic, because I don't know how many times I've heard people say, "Oh, I want to see a Bigfoot, I want to see a dog man," and when it comes time for that to actually happen, things change. It is because the first thing that you have no control over is how your encounter is going to happen and how it's going to take place. You have no control over that,
That's right.
and your response, you can, and trust me, I've known a lot of researchers. I know a lot of researchers, and I've heard a lot of them say, well, prior to having an experience with a Bigfoot or dog man or whatever, um, heard a lot of them say, well, when I see a Bigfoot, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to act this way, or you can't answer that question. I mean, when it's actually happening, you have no control over it, because I mean, y- to make that speculation is pure speculation. You don't know how you're going to react to it. I mean, even me, I'm not going to get into exactly how many encounters I've had, but I've had more than my fair share. I could donate to probably, you know, 5 or 6 people comfortably.
Don't donate to me because it might be bad. I don't know. Have you ever had anything follow you home before?
Um, yeah, I have. Um, cryptid, cryptid wise, and uh, probably the best way to, uh, uh, let's just say I've had some dudes roll up here, and I kind of had to change my outlook on how that particular topic was is dealt with. So, short answer, yes.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why a lot of the real diehard researchers, people that are out there just wanting to find out the truth for ourselves, especially people who don't do podcasts and stuff. Like, I know I'm out here doing my podcast and everything, but I've got at least 3 teams that I'm on, and you guys don't see those guys publicly usually. None of them. Well, maybe a couple, but not most of them, because this is a dangerous field to be in. Okay, when it comes to exploring the truth, trying to figure out these mysteries, like how are these cryptids coming and going? Okay, and I talk about what I can talk about out here, but it is very dangerous sometimes when we're getting too close to the truth with some of these things. Um,
Well,
so,
the
I'll
bottom
leave-
line is the powers that be don't want us to know the truth,
mhm.
and um, you know, it's debatable what lengths they would go to not have us know the truth. You know,
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I know, and I enjoy exploring these things though here, and just kind of putting the possibilities out there for the most part, and telling my story and sharing my story, and then having you share your stories on here. I think that gives a little bit of comfort, for the collective. I think um, to know that we're not all crazy. Okay, and yes, people are conjuring these things, whether they mean to or not. And so I would be a little careful to take your didgeridoo out in the woods and stuff, unless you're prepared. Okay, and just be prepared, because you are going to get the attention of. I mean, it could be mountain lions. I mean, who knows? Just but just be aware that the sound frequencies do potentially open portals. Okay, out there, and it's not something that we should take lightly. Okay, and I'm a seasoned researcher, y'all. I've been doing this for a while, um, and I'm very careful as to the methods that I use and the things that I do out in the field. And I think we all should be careful.
most definitely, because it goes back to that control thing. You know, what happens when you have one of these things show up?
Mhm.
You know, you don't have any control over it, so you know,
Yeah.
and you definitely have no control over the interaction, and sometimes you might not even have control over yourself. I mean, one of the big things that I've uh, heard a lot of talk of here lately, and I've seen in action, is individuals that go out in the field and they get into an entranced state, and you hear about this, and even in relation to the missing 411 saga, you know, talking about people that are put into these altered states, and their lights are on but nobody's home and they're doing things. So you have to ask yourself, if something can do that to a person, you know there is, in my opinion, a higher a level of danger in that in itself than anything.
Oh my gosh. Okay. You just made me think about something. Okay. And some of those missing 411 cases, I do believe there were, was it missing 411? I don't know. I may be getting my stories, intermingled here, but there's some cases where like missing people were being found. They had high levels of like GHB in their systems and stuff. I don't know if this has anything to do with what we're talking about. Um, but let me steer it to something does make sense as to what we're talking about. When we're out in the field, I personally, if I'm doing hardcore boots on the ground research, I'm not out there drinking and drinking around the campfire, and certainly not doing drugs or anything like that. But I know people that go out in the woods and do drugs to have experiences with, you know, alternate realities and, interdimensional beings and things like that. How safe is that, or how not safe is that?
I would say that is, I mean, even if you look at it from, and I'm laughing because the first thing pops into my mind is the elves, the clockwork elves.
Oh yeah.
So, which is a very real thing. if you partake of that, there are people in positions of power that we hear about that are doing the same thing to, basically, uh, you know, from our perspective as researchers, some of our brethren and sisterin go out there and partake of dimethyltryptophan, otherwise known as DMT,
Oh.
and they um, are entering into that alternate reality to to try to facilitate interactions with cryptids. Um, I'm sure that you could probably do that using a substance similar, akin or similar to ayahuasca,
Mhm.
um, because it does have DMT is basically in everything. The difference is you know the concentration level of it. So you have to have a higher concentration in order to actually utilize it for, say, a what they would call a trip, akin to like taking taking acid or something like that. But I think it's very dangerous because if you flip over to the side of the people in perceived positions of power doing the same thing in under the guise of uh, officiating a technology exchange,
Yeah.
then their interactions with these so-called clockwork elves, as they're called, the elves, however you want to call them,
Mhm.
um, they're telling basically from different sources that I've come into contact with, what they're relating is these elves are saying, we'll give you this technology if you do this for us, so that or create a portal so that we can come through into your dimension, and that kind of thing. So basically they want to be able to come and go into and from our dimension, and um, they're willing to do so at the cost of a technology exchange. But what you run into is the individuals that are doing this, they get into not just um, a they get, I guess, hooked on it is probably the best way to describe it. Is they're only getting the interaction when they're on the trip, so they continue the trip at later dates and times to because they're addicted to it.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a healthy thing to do. I don't think it's a wise thing to do. Um, it and it just it is what it is. I mean, I've heard instances of individuals doing that. I don't know any personally. I probably do know some personally, but they just choose not to discuss that with me because they know my view on it or whatever. But um, yeah, I have heard of that, and I don't think it's a wise thing to do.
No. Okay, you did mention people get addicted to it. Okay, and I'm not referring to the drugs. Okay, we're getting addicted to interacting with
Yeah.
entities, other beings. I mean, I see that with ghost hunting sometimes. Okay, even
Hmm.
with a lot of these shows, it's almost like an adrenaline rush. Okay, and it's the same in the cryptid community. Okay, people, there's an adrenaline rush getting out in the woods and having interactions with things that aren't supposed to exist. Okay, and it can push people to do extreme things that they probably shouldn't be doing. And then you factor in like the people that there's some people that want to get famous off of this stuff and make a name for themselves, and they even push it further, you know what I mean, for the camera
Hmm.
and stuff. And that's like the example of the Ghost Adventures with Zach. Okay, and I quit watching that show a long time ago. It got to be a little bit much for me and a little too dark, but nonetheless it was a great show. And but I feel like there was like a almost like an addiction to like pushing the envelope, and that can be a very dangerous game, Mark.
I agree. I often reflect back. I've had um, researchers that I know suggest to me that I should release this video publicly, but I don't think there's a way that I can do it without violating a bunch of uh, terms and conditions, for YouTube, especially because of the way that their no harm to animals thing comes into play as far as their terms of service guidelines and all that good stuff. But anyhow, I'm going to give you the condensed version. I found an area where it appeared that someone had done some animal sacrifice in a very well known area that is known to have dogmen in that area, and I think that they were doing that in an effort to facilitate a interaction with these entities. Now, um, I mean, I can't say that I agree with that because I mean, the little critters that were the unlucky participants in this, they were just out there doing their thing.
Hmm.
They weren't hurting anybody, just living their little critter lives.
Yeah.
So I mean, I mean, where do you draw the line? I mean, you're going to go out and do something like that to not just one or two, but several little animals, and um, it. I think in my opinion, I think it's a very not only dark, um, but not a good thing, definitely, because it falls back into that whole blood magic thing.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah. Well, it's like you said, it's where do you draw the line? Okay. And some people don't have a line. Okay. Not everybody has empathy. Okay. For other animals and other beings. And I mean, I even had to consider when I had those hitchhikers, let's call them, that came home with me, those little orbs from when I was in the meadow with my team, and they were dancing around my kid, and we got a video of them. I had to consider, like, wow, this could potentially affect my family,
mhm,
with me going out there and doing what I do. So it we have to take these things into consideration when we're doing our cryptid research out
mhm,
there, and having these experiences, because it doesn't just affect us; it affects other people as
yeah,
well. Yeah, yeah. I don't
yeah.
know.
I've got a couple of well, I'll just be I can say this much about it. I've got a couple of instances where I've had you know things that have shown up here. And long story short, basically, I had to take a look at, whether or not um, continuing the research was going to be beneficial to the point that, you know, it it affecting other people in the environment aside from myself. So I think that's where, I mean, it goes back to that whole thing of knowledge is good, but and knowledge I always I always tell people freedom is a great thing, but freedom requires responsibility. Same thing with knowledge. Knowledge is a great thing, but knowledge also requires responsibility. And a lot of people um, are very irresponsible with both.
Yeah. Yes, they are. I know. That's why we're super selective as to like who we take out on with my teams out in the field, because we don't like bringing people that is they're not vetted. You know what I mean? To not do something that's completely crazy out there and to put all of us in danger, because it's not about the 3D physical danger that we're always worried about. We can protect ourselves for the most part with that. It's the spiritual stuff. Okay, it's the ethereal things that are going on out there. It takes one weak link. Okay, I'm just going to put it this way. Okay, I'm going to be very blunt. It takes one person, and that's in our everyday lives as well. It takes one weakling uh, to let bad things get to you. Okay, and
Most
so you
definitely.
have to, yeah, you have to be you have to be spiritually strong when you're out doing stuff like what we do, Mark.
I totally agree.
Yeah, one weak link, man. Ask me how I know. Okay,
This sounds like a long story.
it's a long story. I know. It's one that we will not discuss on air. Okay. But yeah, it's a spiritual thing. Okay. And yeah, and for a lot of people, we go through spiritual warfare, and yeah, and that includes dealing with cryptids as well. Okay. And man, that's a whole other, detour we could take down this rabbit hole. Um yeah, especially when it comes to like are these things demons? you know, and
Well,
stuff like that.
initially, early on when the whole Nephilim concept came out, I was on board with that. However, as time went on and understanding grew of the way that the timelines worked out, my opinion on that changed a little bit. So I don't think that these things are descended from the Nephilim. I think they're actually descended from what we call the Raphaim. Now, before I let that statement get fully engulfed in people's minds, I do not claim to be an expert on anything at all. And uh, it's just my opinion based off of the things that I've studied. So I think that they could be the descendants of the other Raphaim, which are um, from biblical times. Basically, you had the Nephilim, and then there was kind of like a round two that took place where they not only wanted to corrupt the human genome, but they wanted to corrupt the genomes of the planet, all genomes, because all genomes fell into God's creation and were created, and they didn't like that. They wanted to corrupt everything. So um, I think that that's where some of these beings came from. Now, are they an abomination in my opinion? Yes. Are they demons? No. I think they're just when they are born. I think that they're just like we are. We're just trying to make it from day to day, trying to survive. Do the things that we do: eat, sleep, reproduce, all that good stuff. But where the difference comes in, and the difference between us and them is, um, and I know that this is going to be something that some people are going to have issue with when I make this statement, but this is just my opinion. I don't think I don't think that these things have a soul in the sense that we do, and because they don't have a soul in the same sense that we do, I think that that opens them up to at will possession. So at will possession in the grand scope of things um, looks at the possibility of a demonic entity possessing them at will on the fly, no questions asked. They can just do it, and these creatures have no control over that. And in my opinion, I think that that's why you have some of these entities or these creatures that we call cryptids more so on the Bigfoot side, while you have stories that people relate of these things actually helping people. And
Mhm.
then you have stories of them where they run into them and they're just, they're trying to kill somebody, or they're trying to do whatever, they're killing all the animals or this, that, and the other, and there's a whole lot of different things that people have not looked at in this when they consider the way that these things act when they're in certain states. And one of those is the fact that, well, I'll get to that here in a second, but when these things are not under some kind of demonic influence, they're just, trying to live life day to day and trying to survive.
Mhm.
And that's just my opinion.
I can
As
agree
far
with that, though. I agree with that, and I do believe that there are. Okay, so I've talked about this before too, Mark. Is okay. There was a case of. I don't want to get into details, but there was a case where allegedly some people had been unalived by a gugway. Okay, and the gugway had been conjured up, basically, or a dark entity had been conjured up to possess that gugway to go unalive some people and stuff. So I mean, I've explored this all before, and so I don't think that inherently a lot of these cryptids are bad. I think it's just like humans, like they can be possessed. We've like on those ghost shows we watch in the movies, we're shown that people can be possessed by demons. Okay. Uh-oh. Okay, I think Mark. Okay, yeah, you guys. I think Mark's power just went out. He just sent me a message, so he's frozen. I think. Here we go. Okay. Oh my gosh, y'all. This has been a fantastic show. Oh my gosh. I'm going to go ahead and say I'm not sure if Mark's going to be able to come back or not. We're going to see. He said his power just went out. So, wow. And I was in the middle of talking about gugways and stuff. That is so creepy, y'all. Yes, cryptids can be conjured in so many different ways. Mark, of all people, knows that they are conjured through things like sound frequencies, okay, and in rituals, blood, you name it. Okay, and Brown Dwarf says it's 11:11. Oh my gosh, it's 2:11 over here on the East Coast. But wow, yeah, the power went out. It's synchronistic. Hey, Bub. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you guys go check out the Strange Road over there on YouTube too. Okay, Bub's a part of that. Okay, but this has been a fantastic show, you guys. My goodness, it doesn't get much better than this, and I wish that we could get Mark back up here, but yeah, his power has gone out. We're going to bring Mark back on again as my co-host. He's just one of the best. He really is, and has so much experience. And he does work behind the scenes quite a bit, doing a lot of this research. So it's a pleasure and an honor to have Mark here today to talk about some of this stuff that he doesn't normally talk about publicly too often. And so I am truly honored to have had him here today as my co-host. And I'm truly honored to also have had you guys here in the audience. This chat has been amazing. You guys are awesome. And I love you guys. Thank y'all so much for being here today. This has been amazing. I'm glad you guys spent, a lot of y'all are taking holidays and stuff this week. So thank y'all for spending your day with me and with Mark. Okay. And from the bottom of my heart, love you guys. And y'all come back and see me tomorrow night at 8 p.m. I will have a remote viewing show for you guys. I'm going to do a live show. I'm not sure what the topic will be yet. But we'll have a show. Oh, and by the way, Mark is back. Let's do a couple more minutes with Mark. Hey, Mark, did you get your power back up?
Yeah, imagine that, just out of the blue. I start talking about some heavy stuff, and
You're talking about heavy stuff. I was about to shut it down, but hey, you're back. Let's we'll just kind of we'll kind of close it out a little bit, okay, if you want. But that was heavy, and that does happen a lot of times when we are talking about something that is extremely, I'm not going to say forbidden, okay, but stuff that people don't normally talk about. We do get power outages. I've had it happen before.
yeah, it's just kind of weird. Here it is, 1:15 in the afternoon, and it's
Uh-oh. Yep. It just dropped it like it's hot over there. And yeah, I just saw, I didn't know until I saw you message me, and I was like, oh, he's frozen. I didn't even notice just then. But yeah, it does. That's right. castle dude. Oh my God, powerful topics cause electrical gremlins. That's right. We're actually talking about the. Okay, so what you're referring to earlier was like the microdosing and stuff that a lot of these tech companies are doing. The tech giants. I knew someone personally who worked in the tech field, and he was part of the military and stuff, so he was not really able to do that stuff. But he said that when he retired, he wanted to be able to do that because all the guys in the tech field were doing that and communicating with interdimensional beings. Okay, so so we start talking about stuff like that, it gets dicey, right?
Yeah, because they don't want to know that they don't want us to know where they're getting their instructions from.
They're getting their orders, right? It's almost like
Yeah.
orders. Like, we kind of wonder, like, why is this world so crazy? Okay, we live in a upside down crazy world, in my opinion, right now, and we've got people, and man, I don't want to get political. I'm not, y'all. I promise. But we got people in charge that probably shouldn't be in charge. Okay, because they're taking instructions from tech, like gremlins or whatever you call those things. It's like,
Clockwork
okay,
elves.
clockwork elves, yeah. And it's like, okay, well, this gets into the whole like transhumanism movement and that other rabbit hole. Okay, AI robots, cloning, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it must be a sensitive subject potentially. And then you combine that with cryptids.
Well, the
Yeah.
thing about it, that a lot of people don't understand or realize is all of these topics are interrelated.
Mhm.
Even down to the whole cryptid thing. I mean, I'm not going to say that they're all created by some kind of lab experiment, but I'm pretty sure that somewhere down the road, because I mean, look at history. History tells us that um, Adolf Hitler was trying to create a super soldier.
Mhm.
And when you look at the different things that he was doing to try to facilitate that, you know, when you have, I'm just going to say that it's not above you conceptualizing that these things they've actually taken place and have actually come to fruition or uh, reality as time has progressed. So, yeah,
Yeah.
creepy, scary stuff.
It is, and Bub's got a good point. CERN is firing up the parallel universe portals. Okay, I just saw a video yesterday. I think it was like Israeli news or something. I started following them back when he was posting videos of like and pictures of alleged like dogmen that had been unalived or something. And so I got interested in that channel back then, and he showed a video. It was like halfway through his video. There's like a portal that opened up above Switzerland in the sky, and it looked very much like that picture that I showed you guys earlier of this right here. It looked just like that. It was like a circle in the sky, and it looked like it had something on the other side. And so that video is online right now.
And I'm here by myself. So hopefully she'll come back in just a second.
Okay, now I got what the heck? I just got kicked off of StreamYard. So okay, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. Oh my God, that is so weird. I literally just got kicked off StreamYard for no reason. I got bumped. Okay. Sorry about that, y'all. We are, yeah. Anyways, so that it's like a CERN, like a portal open over CERN, like where CERN is in Switzerland. Okay. So yeah, too many truths. Yeah, maybe too many truths are being said today. But it's stuff you guys go check out that video if you get a chance. Okay, go look for that. This show is called A Glitch in the Matrix. Yes, C Duke. It's called a glitch in the matrix for a reason. We have lots of glitches on here, and rightfully so. We're talking about some heavy stuff here. But yeah.
If it is in fact intervention on the part of any of the agencies, I'll just say they need to not be worried about me, and they need to be giving up that client list. Just go on about your business and do your duty.
Oh my gosh. Yes. What he said, y'all. What he said.
And that's all I
Yeah.
got to say about that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. Well, that's why we're out here. We're just talking cryptids. We're just crazy Bigfoot people. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
just a crazy Bigfoot lady. You're the crazy Dogman guy. Okay, we're just over here just talking crazy. That's all we're doing.
For
Oh
entertainment
man,
purposes only.
it is. But man, I tell you what, I have a really good time doing this, and it is a lot of fun. Yes, we might get kicked off the internet occasionally, but then we just pop right back on. Okay, we pop right back up. It's those computer elves, those machine elves. They came for us today, like pie. Yeah, they came for us. It's okay because we're still here. We're still ticking for the time being. But man, Mark, this has been a good time today,
It has.
it has been. I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being here and co-hosting with me today, and
Well,
talking about some of these weird things we talked about. Okay.
well, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, of course. You're welcome anytime. You have an open invite. Okay. Because yeah, we talk about stuff that needs to be talked about. All right, when it comes to and I'm not trying to scare anybody or anything. There are dangers in a lot of this research that we do. And people are getting more bold with the research and really pushing the boundaries and the limits, if there are boundaries. I don't know. Just kind of pushing the limits, you know what I mean? And so it can be a little dangerous, but we're just putting the information out there for people to can be aware of the dangers.
Well, I think what a lot of people don't take into consideration is the fact that there are dangers involved in it,
Mhm.
and I think a lot of the time when people get involved in this, they are not ready or willing to accept the consequences of their own actions. And by the time they realize that they need to do that, it's too late.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. I could get into some stories, but I don't have time to do that right at the moment. But in a nutshell, when the alphabet boys show up and they're not there to have tea and crumpets, you know, that's a reality that a
Yep.
lot of people don't take into consideration. You know, and how are they going to deal with that, or how are they going to respond to that? Um, and you know, it's one of those scenarios where, and this is the sad reality of our existence as humans. A lot of things are unimportant until it happens to us. And then when it
Exactly.
happens to us, then it's a different story. Then the alarms are going off and people are like, freaking out and what do I do? Should have
Yeah.
thought about that before you got involved in this is my advice is try to think about those things before you get too far into it to where you're having to ask those questions because um it I mean without getting into details, it's very real scenarios.
It is. It is. I got some pushback before talking about, that proverbial knock at my door I've gotten before. Okay. And people are like, "Oh, but you're a gatekeeper. You're gate." No, I'm not gatekeeping anything. I put everything out there. that I can. But I'm also a realist, and I have a family and stuff, and so it's dangerous, some of this stuff, some of this information. So we're gonna leave it at that. We're gonna leave it at that right there. So yeah, Cryptidville, Cryptidville. I just called you Cryptidville instead of Mark. Where can people find you and your YouTube channel? And yeah, tell everybody where they can find you and your
Well,
website.
yeah, my website is cryptidville.com, and my YouTube channel is just Cryptidville on YouTube. I think I can't remember the numbers that go behind it because I hardly ever look at that. But um, let me see here. I think Gerald might have posted that here.
Oh yeah, they've been Gerald and all my moderators have been posting your links the entire show. So thank you guys. I want to thank my moderators so much
Yes,
today.
thank you.
Y'all have kicked butt today. I appreciate y'all.
It's Cryptidville 741.
Okay. Is that that's your YouTube banner?
Yeah, that is on YouTube.
What is that? Say that again and I'll put it up on the screen.
It's Cryptidville 741.
741.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so Cryptidville 741. That's on YouTube. You guys go type in youtube.com. I think it's / Cryptidville 741 or at Cryptidville 741. Okay. Yeah.
So as a early warning, I'm in a lot of transitional stages in a lot of different things right now. So my YouTube content is not what it used to be, but I am going to be adding some more stuff to that as well as to my website. I basically transitioned my website from being a blog to more of a vlog type environment, but I'm going to do a mixed environment, and so that way I can bring more content and try to get more information out for people.
Oh my gosh, you have a great website, you guys, and Mark, you put up other videos from other channels from all over the place. Some of the best content on cryptids. So you guys go over there and check out his website, okay? And yes, I've been honored to be a part of a couple of those videos on your website before. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this is yeah, it's always a pleasure having you here, even if you and I are both getting kicked off of the show. We both got kicked off at least once today. So we're doing something right.
Well, as long as the little dudes don't show up in my backyard on the wood line in the middle of the night. All I can say is if you roll, you better roll hard.
Yeah, hey, but just don't go out there doing throat singing, okay? No throat singing. All right. I stay away from that stuff. I don't even know how to throat sing. I don't want to know how, honestly. But yeah, man, this has been awesome. You guys, please go subscribe over at Cryptidville. Actually, Cryptidville is on my YouTube channel. If you go down to Friends of the Cryptid Huntress, he's down there. So it's an easy way to go find him. Y'all can go find him. Y'all can go find him. Yeah, the boots on the ground high vibe tribe. Man, that's a lot in one sentence. I love that, Amy. Thank you. Yes, we got booted. The boots on the grounds got booted today. But yeah, this has been fun and great information. This is fantastic information, Mark. So I hope you'll come back and co-host with me again soon.
Hopefully I can get to a position where I can do that again soon.
Okay, well, good. I hope so. I know you did me a big favor today by coming on and sharing your knowledge with us. Okay, so all right, y'all come back and see me tomorrow night. I have my remote viewing show. That's at 8 p.m. tomorrow night. I'll be announcing that topic either later today or in the morning. Okay, so Mark, have a wonderful day, and everybody go subscribe to Cryptidville over on YouTube, and I will see you guys tomorrow night. Bye, y'all. Bye.